So good morning, good morning. Here we are in my shed of activities. We're going to be looking at the first collection of the Rick Owens Champion collaboration, and I got a hat from the second collection that we're going to be looking at. Champion is a brand steeped in the tradition of athletics and athletic wears. All of these fine things behind me you will see throughout the video in various activities when we put those garments to the test and see what's it good for. Now along the way we're going to be removing some logos. Why might you want to remove a logo? I can think of two categories of people that might. The first category are people who don't like a specific logo on a specific garment. The second category of people just don't like logos generally, and I would fall into the second category. It's more of a feeling than a thought. I just kind of don't like the logos, and so how do you remove them? We've got some relatively low risk removal on the hat, high risk removal on the toga and the toga pants. But for now, let's go ahead and get a few of these tools behind me and we'll get to work. So what have we got off the rack? Well, first we got a little painter's tape. We've got a seam ripper here. And then we have, of course, Peggy stitch eraser. All right, so off it comes onto the work table. And so this just has one logo right here on this nice, lightweight, airy parachute material like bucket hat. I have really enjoyed it. And this is an embroidered logo, but it's only stitched on, which makes it really easy to work with, because all we have to do is do this, take out the stitches around the logo, and there we go, no problem. I like to go about doing this from the back of the logo to start with. Just kind of work around the outside, some of the anchor points. You just get this little guy under the stitches and out you go. So an example of a successful logo removal that I did a number of seasons ago was I really wanted a hat with a low crown and an interesting color in a light fabric. I was looking for something very specific. And I found one that I liked from Acne Studios, so I got it. And then the color was interesting, but not in a way that appealed to me. And of course it had the logo, which I just don't need. So I used the stitch eraser to take off the embroidered logo, and then I over-dyed it with a little bit of yellow to turn that yerple into a nice rusty color with some depth. It's been a great hat ever since. I'm just kind of going through the individual stitches themselves, chopping those up, and then I should be able to just pull away the logo when we're done here. I should add that this only takes patience and a willing heart. It takes no technical ability whatsoever. And there we go. Off it comes, no big deal. Pretty easy, as I suspected. Get those last few stray pieces of fabric. Painter's tape or gaffer tape is not too grippy. It's not going to rip anything. There's still a little bit of outline of where the stitches were. Once the fibers move around, they'll just go away. So that's the hat done. And no big deal, it was easy. We thought it would be. Let's move on to something more difficult, a little riskier.
You're better, man.
We've got two logos on this one. We've got a Champion logo, again, embroidered but just stitched on. And then we've got this embroidered Rick Owens pentagram with the Champion logo on the interior of that pentagram. When I first started handling these shorts, it was my opinion that the embroidery of the Rick Owens logo is the sturdiest, most well-made thing about this garment. It's going to be really hard to get off for a couple reasons. One, the fabric is really light, so digging out this embroidery is going to be quite a task without damaging the underlying fabric. And then it's just a big ass logo. It's just really tough. So we'll see what we can do. An element of risk is always makes things fun. So now is when we'll be using old Peggy's stitch remover. So let me tell you a little bit about why I got these things in the first place. I am about to go to a wedding and the bride said something about a toga party. I heard it, my friend heard it, and so we went and got togas. Of course, I went with this one. It's just an excuse to get more Rick Owens, and then come to find out either that was a joke or we'd misheard her or something. So there is no toga party, but I am left with these toga-like garments, and I'm gonna wear them. So what am I doing? I'm really just working around the edges. I'm kind of feeling it out, seeing if I want to do the front or the back or what's just gonna produce the best results. So I'm just exploring a little bit with my stitch eraser here. Let me talk a little bit about the collection. In the first capsule collection, which is what these toga garments are from, Rick Owens said that when he was growing up in the 70s, that he saw people, the cool people, he says, wearing the champion gear, champion stuff, and so it was always a logo that he had associated with cool people. He really liked the logo. He said he made his own logo, assuming the cursive, similar to the champion logo, and always had it in the back of his head. So clearly a logo was in the front of Rick Owens' mind when he was working on these things, so fair enough. So I'm trying to position my stitch remover. If this is the way the fabric is going, I want to take my stitch remover here and just kind of, you know, work it back and forth and sever it. All right, I'm starting to get to the point where I can just see a few of the holes through the embroidered logo there. So making some progress. So I'm back from the wedding. I am finished with all of my work, and I have to admit that I have ruined both of the garments. What are you gonna do? You don't know where that line is until you cross it. Admittedly, it hasn't been the most successful logo removal, but I knew it was going to be difficult before I even started. So what are you gonna do? I was able to get a good bit of this one removed, and I kind of like the way it turned out, to be honest. You can still sort of see the faint ragged outline of the pentagram there. You can't see any of the champion logo, and what I discovered is that underneath on the back side of this embroidery was sort of a little bit of like nylon netting that helped to reinforce all of this stitching, and so I was able to get a lot of that out, and you can see under there that there's just kind of more of this basketball short material underneath it. With this one, I took it to the wedding just with the champion logo removed out of the pentagram, but the pentagram was more or less intact. So at this post-wedding event that was, I thought, supposed to be a toga party, I showed up in this, and people loved it. There was one lady who open mouth pointed at me and, you know, elbowed her friend, you know, to look and stuff like that. So obviously it got a lot of attention. I went swimming in these in the lake without the top, obviously, and they held up just fine. There were a bunch of Canadian geese at the lake, so we sprinkled some potato chips on my shirt and then tried to get the geese to eat off of it. They didn't eat anything off of it, but it was still a good idea. I did a little bit more work on it after I got back. You can see that there is a little bit of a hole right there, and the pentagram is still more or less there, even though I've taken out like the embroidery stitching. It was extremely difficult to get rid of all of it, and in the end I didn't care anyway, because I'm not too attached to these pieces of clothing, although I have loved the hat, and the hat was very useful on the vacation. And so, like the hat. So I'll talk a little bit about the activities that I did in these garments to honor the champion legacy. You can throw frisbee in it, you can skateboard in it, you can mountain bike in it. All of these things. Probably mountain biking is the least advisable because the long drapey thing is going to get caught on something. You can do all of those activities in it, but would you want to? No, you probably wouldn't. And I think that kind of gets to the main point about these, is that these are a little bit a novelty. They're a little bit for kind of a novel situation. They're not the most practical for athletics, and they're not the most practical for streetwear. So what are you gonna do? I knew that going into it. I knew that buying these, they were gonna be a little bit more fanciful, a little bit more performative. So not to say an unkind word about the collection. As streetwear, yes, it's streetwear, but at the same time, with such an avant-garde cut, usually Rick Owens will pair that with some very nice materials or some really quality construction. And you're just not getting that with this. You know, it's kind of a balance. It's like, yeah, I might wear something really revealing, kind of like the, I got another Larry shirt in Supro from the Phlegathon collection. It's a beautiful color, it's very gauzy, it's pretty revealing. Or the pair of very revealing swim trunks that I got or swim briefs that I got from the Phlegathon collection. So those are all pretty kind of revealing things in a similar way that this is revealing, at least the shorts are. But at the same time, they're very well made and they're very attractive, and there's just sort of a quality to them. You would be paying more for this than you probably would even a Rick Owens t-shirt. I think I paid more for this than I paid for this Babel Rick Owens shirt that I'm wearing here, and this is far more useful than this one is. Comparing it to some of the other collections, Rick Owens collaborations, so the Rick Owens collaboration with Birkenstock, yes, they're expensive if you're paying top whack. I did for mine, but at the same time I still get a very useful pair of Birkenstocks out of that. The same with the Veja shoes and others. It's not to say that, you know, the entirety of the collection is like that. This is the more recent collection, but this hat was great. I thought it was a really practical hat. It was very thoughtfully chosen material, and I've loved it. And I've loved having it without a logo as well. So that's all for these. I'm off to go wash the potato chip stains and whatever else is on these. Maybe they'll be seeing some more action and activities in the future. Don't like, don't subscribe. I've got some more videos coming out soon. Thank you for being patient during the hiatus. I'll have another video out as soon as I can. Have a great summer.